have a topic question for future Jochen Q&As. If my horse has been sore and I get an adjustable saddle properly fitted, what can I expect for rehab requirements? Maybe talk about what to do if you're receiving conflicting advice from a good fitter versus body workers during this time.
Well, I don't want to say it's a gimmick. I think the industry is frustrated with these old-fashioned trees. These are the old-fashioned trees, wood tree, right? The rails go narrow, narrow. Veterinarians say if the rails are so narrow, now all the pressure's in the front. But we need to think logical. Okay, so if I'm looking at this picture here, you have a horse from the back view, and these are the lumbers versus processes, the transfers, right? Here in the back, you do not want pressure. So if the horse's back is short, you now have to still stay away from it. What about the front? What about the front of the horse? For hundreds and hundreds of years, the tree points were very, very long. Why are they so long? Why, and even to this day with the Western saddles and Army saddles, why do they still, from the center down to here, it's a minimum of 9.5, if not 10.5 inches, from the center all the way down? Why do we see saddles now going shorter and shorter, or they're flexed away? Okay, that is one possibility to give the horse more freedom in the shoulder, okay, by having the tree point shorter. All right, so now let's think logical on this. Why do we have a gullet plate in the first place? Okay, why do we care about the tree width and the length of the tree points in the first place? We for sure don't want to have them poking forward and damaging in the shoulder. So how do we get horses with big shoulders to get the saddle to slide underneath? Well, one philosophy is shorter tree points. But what happens when we have saddles with shorter tree points? How do we bridge withers like this? And how do we create freedom for the wither cup? And how do we create enough clearance so when the horse wants to move forward, it doesn't hit the shoulder? The easiest way, and there's a book written in the early 2000s by a veterinarian, Dr. Joyce Harmon, and she talks about the importance where the pressure is. Here's another veterinarian, she puts that saddle on the horse, what is dead, the horse laying sideways. Here's the horse's shoulder, okay? So if you don't have this gullet plate or short tree points or tree points will go away, how will this stop from crushing the withers? Okay, because the high point of the spine is the withers. Okay, so again here, how is that stopping from sliding down? If you say, well, it carries more in the middle, by shortening, here's a cross section of the withers. The reason why they made this tree point for years so long, okay, is to get to the longest muscle, the longissimus dorsi, right here. Look how huge that is. Look how thick that is. And all these other muscles, rhomboideus, trapezius, splinalis, okay, they're very thin, okay? And this splinalis, yes, it's a little thicker, but no horse likes to be pinched on that. We're also trying to stay away from the lung meridian point, okay? So we, since thousands of years, build saddles with tree points, okay? So one of the things, what I totally see and understand, is if the tree point is straight or forward, when you adjust the stirrup bar on here, definitely there's a lot of pressure. If the tree point is long, goes backwards, the stirrup bar is attached more in the center, okay? And this point will go away from the lung meridian point, backwards like the shoulder goes, and not forward or straight. Then you have shoulder relief panels because you have that freedom. Then you have the ability to fit saddles to the horse, because where do you want the support? On top of this long muscle. If you make the tree point short or they flare away, it's kind of like you say, oh, I built a bridge, but it will move away from the pressure when the car drives over. well, what's the point of the bridge then if the car falls in? The tree needs to bridge the big hump of the withers, the longest bone of the spinal processes. Look how long they are. Okay, we need to get over there without creating more pressure to the spine. So that we cannot do with short tree points. If we say, oh, we're going to make it more in the middle, so what will then happen? It will rock. So who wants a saddle when you ride? It flips up and rocks. So often you see on Western saddle, tree points are really long and backwards. This is how your army saddle, the old-fashioned sits. These tree points are absolutely horrible, which go forward, and then they create this hollowness. So I'm believing that the proper tree length with the proper backwards, it's way more benefit for the horse if we have proper contact. Like you see in this dust pattern here, all the wither cup is free. Okay. The problem with this dust pattern, the saddle is too long. Now, if you make it short tree point, because the question was, wouldn't it be better for horses with short backs? How would that change the length of the saddle if my pressure is away here and more in the center? Okay, so there is number two, we can never sit on that lumbar area. So no, it doesn't really work that way, because the opposite of bridging, this is the bridge trick we talk about, is the rocking, and nobody wants a saddle what is rocking or floating.
Topic question for future Jochen Q&As. If my horse has been sore and I get an adjustable saddle properly fitted, what can I expect for rehab requirements? Maybe talk about what to do if you're receiving conflicting advice from a good fitter versus body workers during this time.